Well, it's very interesting. What Leroy is referring to is an interview that Patrick Vieria gave yesterday, in which he said that big clubs, if you look at all of the big leagues around Europe, the big clubs tend to get big decisions. He then basically said that he'd been taken out of context at all. When I saw the interview, it looked fairly straightforward to me. Manchester City responded by banning the reporter who had done the interview, much to everybody's surprise, because the reporter is very well respected. And so you just wonder what City are playing at, whether or not they are overreacting and whether they are getting a bit too twitchy. I mean, if you feel City United get the big decision, just say so. You might be wrong or right, but just own it and say it, surely.
Well, yeah, but Man City have had a few big decisions. You remember Adam Johnson going down in the box with Fulham? That was a big decision. People seem to forget, if you're going to say something, you've got to back it up. Not with a dossier like Benitez did. That was absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. But, that was absolutely ridiculous.
This is the back page of the Express. Mancini told to ignore Fergie Miles games by Rafa Benitez.
He put out a Bible of facts, didn't he? And he made himself look ridiculous. Kevin Keegan has done it before. We all know that Fergie enjoys this. And the best thing Man City could do is just stay quiet and get on with the job in hand. And so they've got themselves into a corner. They've made themselves look silly. I think from now on they would have learned from that and they'll move forward.
Yeah, just two things to point out before we go to the Skype wall. The first is that Sir Alex was talking about City may be benefiting from some decisions. Mario Balotelli, we all agree, should have been sent off for stamping on the head of Scott Parker, and he wasn't. They got away with that one, big style. So they too do get some decisions that go their way as a big club in the Premier League. So it's not all one-sided, is it?
No, it's not. And both sides could point to decisions that have gone against Company getting sent off, which I didn't think he should have got sent off. The penalty, Newcastle, that Man United got. Newcastle got a penalty to get an equaliser. There's lots of decisions. But the point is, this season is about the future. And it's a great end of the season.
Absolutely.
You can't be looking backwards. You've got to be looking forwards. And it's in the balance. And Man City have got a great chance of getting overcoming Man United and picking up the title. So get on with it. Don't look backwards.
Now, we've got some stats for you just to prove that it isn't Manchester United who get all of the big decisions. Take a look at this. These are penalties awarded at home in the last 10 seasons, Leroy. And the team who have benefited most are Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? That's not got a lot to do with referees. It's got to do with the way you play and where you have good possession. Now, Arsenal pass the ball around the box. They always get players in the box with good possession. And if that's going to happen, then you're going to get the most penalties.
I mean, the interesting thing is, I'm sure you've been listening to the debate so far, and it's all been about penalties being awarded to Manchester United and City and whatever else. And we've established, and it's been our belief, that they've evened themselves up. But you've, in your career, been in the thick end of these title races. You've refereed these big games. You've read well, tell us, just give us a bit of an insight into what the referee's role is and his situation. Do you read papers during these title run-ins? Do you watch TV? Do you see the press conferences these managers give? And do they in any way, shape or form, because you're only human, have an impact on you when you actually referee a game?
Well, in answer to your first point, Darren, yes, obviously referees. We are football fans. We love the game. Otherwise, why on earth do we get into refereeing in the first place? So, don't forget, referees are only frustrated and failed footballers. I'd have been much happier being a professional footballer with the wages they were on than being a referee. But yes, so you're fully aware of the hype. You're fully aware of the mind games. But figures like with politicians can be made to tell you anything. And I noticed today on the television some facts and figures showing which teams had got the most penalties at home. And, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea were up there at the top. You can't argue with that. But then another fact and figure you can come into it is that the top teams in the division are the best teams in the division.
Yes.
When they're playing at home, they usually have the vast majority of possession. They're attacking. The away team are under pressure. So, you meter all those things into it and say, well, hang on, it's more likely that Manchester United are going to get a penalty at Old Trafford than concede one, not because of referees being scared or biased, purely because that's the way the games actually do pan out. But, a referee at that level, people used to say, and they still say to me now, you know, what's it like? Did Fergie intimidate you? I can assure you, when Fergie stood on the touchline, when in the pace of that game, you've got 22 footballers to look after, Fergie is the last thing in your mind. Crowds, obviously, the home crowd, 95% of the supporters in that stadium are baying for their team. But again, a referee at that level, if he's just going to go with the crowd and go to be popular, then we might as well not have referees at all. So, you know, the strong referees should be giving penalties at either end of the field, you know, and I think it's unfortunate, and people scream conspiracy, and the referee bottled it on Monday night. The referee didn't bottle it on Monday night. He made an honest decision. Unfortunately, as we now know, it wasn't correct.
Yeah, Jeff, good. I agree with most of it. I've got a theory on why Michael Oliver didn't give that penalty, because he was as shocked as everyone that Danny Murphy was in the box, and he's usually in the centre circle. But that's another point. But my question is, Jeff, you know, you talked about pressure. And, you know, players, you know, when players prepare, you know, for big games, they're different to other games. For referees, say you're going to referee at Wigan, and no disrespect to Wigan, and then you're going to referee at Old Trafford. What's the build-up to refereeing at Old Trafford for, not an experienced referee like you, but a young referee, a good referee, who's not really been there too often? How much pressure is he under leading up to that game? Is there more pressure?
I think, you know, you can say that you try and prepare in exactly the same way for any game of football, because if you break it down, it's the same laws, 22 players, 2 goals, etc. But common sense does make the bigger games. You know, from the minute you arrive at a ground, you know, if you arrive for a big derby match or top of the table match, there's more people at the ground earlier, there's a sense of anticipation, the players are more up for it. But what that actually does from a refereeing point of view, you're more up for it. And as you say, no disrespect to a Wigan or a lesser team in a lower division, because that game's equally important for them. But you are psyched up, and you do go into, you know, a table-topping clash with a slightly different mindset. You know, you're not wanting to be throwing cards round too early. You're not wanting to overreact. You know that this game needs managing.
Stay ahead of the game with Sports Tonight Live. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Sports Tonight Live on Facebook and like our fan page. Follow Sports Tonight TV on Twitter and tweet us your thoughts and opinions. Sports Tonight Live, it's the platform for the fans.